all of this stuff because she keeps us going, but I thought I'd put a lot of different things in this time. Let me show. Before we get rolling here, because today is, this is video number 666, and today is Friday the 13th. And I'm shocked that you showed up. I thought you wouldn't be here. It could be spooky or something. But before we get into anything, I wanted to bring you an update, which I think is important for the work we've done here, and also important for our movement towards December 21st, 2012, at 11/11, when the change occurs. And I think, I was just talking to a couple of gentlemen here and telling them, proposing to them that when you get into talking about stuff like this, prophecies from people thousands of years ago, you really need, if you're going to combine it with scientific reality, you really need to come up with credible witnesses, And so that's what I have done, even in proposing December 21st, 2012. I gave you information from NASA and all of this kind of stuff about the movement of the sun aligning with the center of the galaxy on that date and the culmination. Well, you go back to 600 AD, and this guy, Pakal Votan, evidently was a brilliant scientist or astronomer of some kind, because he knew of not linear time that we, run our lives on, but cosmic time. That was one of the things he had such a big problem with. You people make up the time, and nobody knows what time it is. 2009. Well, I mean, that's like 10 seconds in reality. And so in order to deal with it, we really have to make sure that everything we say here carries with it some scientific credibility through physicists and quantum people. But those of you who have been coming here for a long time know that some years ago I said that you should have a green light at your home. Whether you have it on the front porch or the back porch, kind of not important. But I went in, and transgressed a little bit away from the scientific reality into the biblical thing. And I feel very confident in doing that because the Bible is a book of mythology written by classic Greek minds who were plugged into Democritus and Hippocrates and Pythagoras and Aristotle and, Zeno, who was a quantum physicist, Democritus, who knew the movement of electrons inside of atoms, and all this kind of stuff. And these were the guys that wrote the Bible in Alexandria, Egypt. So, taking that, I looked at the story of the Exodus, which never happened. And, mouths drop open when I say that. And so I say, well, my goodness gracious, who are you going to get to back that up? Well, I've got Zeev Herzog and the Archaeological Department of Tel Aviv University in the middle of Israel, who said it didn't happen. But anyhow, that means it's a much more important thing for us to study than trying to figure out where there's a shallow spot in the Red Sea where they could have, some nonsense like that. But if we start to think of what does it mean, and what do all of the plagues mean, and what does placing the blood on the doorpost of the house mean, so that the angle of light, which is an angel of light, is actually a photon angle of light, messenger particle, so that passing over, it recognizes you as one of the chosen, if you want to use that word. And so I said, well, put a green light at your house, and if those from another dimension do wander by, we will be able to display, hey, we're in on this. And people say, what the heck's green got to do with it? Because there's two factors. Number one, the earth, the green, and number two, the sun, the light, and the combination of the sun and the green creates hemoglobin, and then in the plant life, what's it called in plants? Chlorophyll. So, there's a 2-point reason. Your green light is a symbol that everybody that you're into nature, you're into the universe, you're into the cosmos. And who knows who's going to fly over, since you only can see 10% of everything. I mean, it could be some guy in a green spray. Who the heck knows? But this is why I wanted to bring it up again. If you go on, our Hidden Meanings website, you can read about this. And this is the page of the website on Hidden Meanings website that you can look at. It says, put a green light at your house. That's actually the light at the back of our house. It really is. And then it says here, it says, go to www.hiddenmeanings.com, scroll down until you find green light at your house. Now, the reason that I chose to do that is because those of you who have been coming here for a long time know that for whatever strange reason, and I haven't considered strange and wacky, but for whatever strange reason, most of the things that you've heard here have come true. It was right after we started talking about Paco, Wotan, and all this thing that, a lot of drastic changes took place in our civilization. But as we close in on December the 21st, 2012, and we're living through these tremendous changes which have been happening through the world, I wanted to share this with you. And once again, I say, hey, wait a minute here. Now, I'm not telling you to believe anything. I don't need that. There's no members here. I'm not a member of the... I'm just sharing information with you. You do with it what you want. But the fact that we spoke about the green light, and we have a full page about the green light, and now we have the green ecology, so to speak, this to me then became something to at least think about. This is the latest. A green comet is approaching the Earth. And that was published by NASA on February the 4th. Comet Lulin, named after the observatory in Taiwan, where the discovery photo was taken, is now approaching Earth. It is a green beauty that could become visible to the naked eye any day now. Lulin's green color comes from the gases that make up its Jupiter-sized atmosphere. Jets spewing from the comet's nucleus contain substances which glow green when illuminated by sunlight in the near vacuum of space. Now, put yourself in my position. I'm standing up here, we put things on local television and on the internet, and I'm telling everybody, oh, put a green light in your house in case, something comes flying over. Well, now here's NASA saying, there's a green comet coming. That's good enough for me. You know what I mean? It's not going to hit the Earth, and it's going to fly by. But we look at these things as the Bible says, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens, and let them be for signs. Well, whatever it is, here it comes. And here's a picture of it, courtesy of NASA. So, go find it. And I'll tell you something else. Green bulbs are not easy to find. You got to go to the hardware store or something. Because a lot of people don't know about this. So, go get a green one. So here we are. Anyhow, enough of that. Here we are, and it is message number 666, and it's Friday the 13th. How awesome is that? What is 666 all about? Let's go to the book of Revelation. And in the book of Revelation 13:18, it says, here is wisdom. Let him that understands count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. You know what most people have done for the last 2,000 years? Took everybody's name that had 6 letters in it. So I'm suspicious of him. Could be Adolf Hitler. A-D, oh, well, it's only got 5. So, and that's what they do. They think, but the problem with it is, you've got people in Spain thinking Spanish names, and people in United States English names, and all over the place. The problem with it is, the 666 is gematria from Greece. It's classic Greek writing, and therefore it has to be connected throughout our understanding of this by going into Greek thought. I'll tell you the truth, and when you think about 666, you can go to 200 organizations, and whatever they may be, religious, whatever, you'll get 200 different versions of who 666 is or what 666 means. You can go on the internet and you can get 50 million versions of what 666 is. Nobody knows, but they all are venturing a guess. What is interesting about this is that those who studied the scriptures from the earliest times found that the number really wasn't 666 at all, but it was 616. Boy, that screws everything up. And I'll tell you something, you never heard about it because the religion and the churches, they got this all tuned into the devil or different people, and they don't want anybody messing it up. But look at this. It's interesting stuff. Although Irenaeus, 2nd century, reported several scribal errors of the number, there is still doubt by some theologians about the original reading. As some recently discovered 3rd century early manuscripts of Revelation read 616. This topic is a source of contention for many church groups and theologians. Some scholars contend that the number 666 is a code for the Roman Emperor Nero. Others, that 616 is a code for the Roman Emperor Caligula. You see, already we got two guys that are pointed out. Well, if it's 666, it's Nero. If it's 616, it's Caligula. It can't be both. So now what is 666 or 616? And is the beast Nero or Caligula? Let's take a look. In May 2005, it was reported that scholars at Oxford University, using advanced imaging techniques, had been able to read previously illegible portions of the earliest known record of the book of Revelation. The fragment gives the number of the beast as 616 rather than the majority text 666. So you'd have to go to church and the pastor would have to come out and say, Remember Rosanna Dana on Saturday Night Live, and she said, never mind. That's what about, you get it, never mind. So what is it? Is it 666? That's better, though. I mean, everybody's got used to that, so we should really keep that. 616. But does it make any difference? What does it mean? And does anybody know? Let me show you something. Here is David Parker, professor of New Testament textual criticism and paleography at the University of Birmingham, said the correct number 616 refers to the Emperor Caligula. Scholars who believe that the book of Revelation refers to historical people and events argue the number represents Nero. The German Protestant theologian Albert Stauffer concluded that the beast can in general only refer to a Roman emperor and argued that this guy must be Domitian. So we got Domitian, Nero, and Caligula. Okay. Some Protestant Bible commentators have equated the beast of Revelation with the papacy. Oh, can you imagine that? Seventh-day Adventists believe the mark of the beast, but not the number 666, refers to a future legally enforced Sunday worship. Because I guess they don't go on Sunday. Some fundamentalists believe the mark of the beast refers to the Catholic practice of making the sign of the cross. Irenaeus suggested the number indicates the beast is the sum of all apostasy committed over the course of 600 years. You see what I'm saying? You go into whatever church you go to and you ask who it is, and they're going to come up with something. Or they're going to tell you, like they told me when I was a little kid in school, Master Donahue, you have to have faith. Some things God doesn't want us to know. And I said, and I was probably the only kid in the history who was at about 9 years old, thrown out. They threw me out. But that's for another story. Futurist Christian holds that mark of the beast is the Antichrist that will exercise power over everybody at the tribulation. Okay. Some Christians say it might be, get this now, the function of a credit card. You can't, well, you know, the way the interest is being charged, that might be partly true. Stephen Miller proposes that the mark of the beast may refer to the Social Security number. Now, I'm getting this out of the encyclopedia, so I'm not making, these names up, Stephen Miller. Terry Watkins supposes the mark to be a microchip or barcode on the human body. And, you don't know. And then Jehovah's Witnesses say it symbolizes many governments, harmonizing with the symbolic depiction of past governments. Aleister Crowley, this is the best, and this guy, I think, has got it. Aleister Crowley said he was the beast in the book of Revelation. He was it. And because his name added up to 666. And the Baha'i faith thinks it's so. But now hear me out, because I would make a proposal too. And my approach to 666 or 616 or whatever number you want is that it cannot possibly refer to any person, not possibly refer to any individual. Okay? What we're talking about in the book of Revelation is something that is anti-Christ, which means it's against or contrary to the teachings of Christ. That is who 666 or 616. Anyone who is contrary to the position taken by Jesus in the Bible. And I have things to talk about the existence, literally, of that figure too, but that's for another time. The responsibility for Antichrist can't be placed on the head of one person. You know why? It's a universal problem. It's not an individual problem. See? You can't, if they try to say, Adolf Hitler was the guy. No, you can't put it on one guy, because unless people were willing to do what he wanted them to do, he couldn't have done anything, could he? The responsibility cannot be placed on one person. It has to be placed on the entire human mind. Let me give you an example. Here's Christianity. And Christianity says, this is the way you're saved. You accept the death of Jesus Christ for your sins. You claim him as your Lord, and you will be saved. Do you know what that is? That's 666. It's Antichrist. You know why? Because it is contrary to what Jesus says, and it is contrary to what the Bible says. This is Christianity. And if you've been to these places, well, they say, lower your head, close your eyes, claim Jesus as your son, all this kind of business. But let me show you something here. Now, if you are going to be a Christian and you're going to claim Jesus as your Savior and believe God, and that's going to give you salvation, what do you do with this? Let me show you. Here's Jesus himself saying, why do you call me Lord and not do the things that I say? Well, the answer to that is, I don't know what the hell you said. Nobody ever told me. I went to church and they said, stand up and sing, this is the day of the Lord. Nobody ever said that. So all of a sudden you got a situation here that you have to think about and say, well, I asked him to be my Lord, but he said, you can't call me Lord because you're not doing what I told you to do. No. And in Acts 5:32, we're his witnesses, and so is also the Holy Ghost, whom God has given to them that obey him. Not obey your church, whether you're a Catholic or a Baptist or a Presbyterian or whether you're Jewish or Buddhist or whatever, Christian or whatever you are. It says, given to him that obey him. What did he say? If you walk into your church and ask the people in your church, do we obey Jesus? They'll stare at you because they haven't a clue. And you know what? More than likely, if you walk in there and ask them, you haven't a clue either. One. Hebrews 5:9, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. It doesn't work any other way. And you know why? Because Jesus is a light, an energy, a force, a power above and beyond. You can call him Jesus, you can call him Krishna, you can call him Buddha, you can call him Jehovah, you can call him Muhammad, you can call him anything you want. It's that power, that light that is within us, and we have an opportunity to move into that right hemisphere, to touch that, or to stay and follow religion and politics and corporations into total oblivion. So in order for you to be a Christian, you have to do what Jesus says. And if people would be honest, and you would ask them to raise their hand if they do what he says, nobody could do it. And so much of Christianity is political. You saw them on television, full well, and all these guys, let's bomb Iraq, let's invade Iraq, and all. How do you do that and say, we're followers of Jesus? Yeah, cut off. We don't need no medical care. It's too much money, too much, and no, feed these people. No, they have to bring themselves up on their own bootstraps. How can that be Jesus? Now, there's so many people that are going to miss the change coming to culminate in 2012. Because they're going to run around screaming as they are now, my God, what are we going to do? Jesus. Citigroup, what are you going to do? Ford. And the reason is they've been told by their churches, all you have to do is confess it and believe it, and you're saved, and no harm is going to come to you. And it's not true. And so 666 fits everything that is contrary to the mind change. It is 666 is everything that directs the mind away from the right side that Jesus spoke of to the left side, the intellectual side. It wasn't Saudi Arabian terrorists that flew the plane into the World Trade Center. It wasn't them at all. It was 666. It wasn't George Bush who decided to invade Iraq and cause so much destruction and killing. It was 666. It's not the government that neglects the poor and hungry and deprives people of medical care. It's 666. You know why? Because we're all 666. A region of the mind that acts out in violence against others and against nature. That's 666. A region of the mind that is concerned with profit before people. Profit before nature, before animals. That's 666. When you pick up something and throw it or scream, and we all do that, as soon as you do it, you can stand and say to yourself, I'm 666. They're scared the hell out of me, but I am. 666 is referred to as the carnal mind. Now, what that means, that's the left side, the intellectual side. That is also the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because there's a lot of good things you do, but there's a lot of rotten things we do too. And they all come out of the same side, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So you have to go to the Garden of Eden, which is on the right side, where the tree of life is. But you can't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and go there, which means you have to sacrifice thoughts. You have to shut down thought. Then you can be in the garden. When you shut down thought, you're not taking of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You're taking from the tree of life. But when you're in meditation and you're floating in that beautiful nothingness, suddenly you start thinking, oh, that rotten lady next door. Oh, I got to do something. You're taken from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you got your tail kicked the hell out of the Garden of Eden. That's just what it's all about. So some of the things we do out of the left side are good, and some of them are evil. Look, 666 equals evil. Evil equals devil. That's what it is. Let's go back. So so we're talking then about this. No matter how much you pray, no matter how many times you go to church, no matter how many Bibles you read, no matter how holy you think you are, your mind will not allow you to go long without 666 getting you fired up. It doesn't make any difference what you do. There is no way you can stop it. No way. And you know that. You know, you go to church, and you're in there with everybody, and we're all singing the songs and listening, and they got the robes and the stained glass, and they got all the stained glass on the windows so nobody can see what the hell's really going on out there. But then what happens after you shake the pastor's hand and you go home? Then you get on the internet. And where do you go? 666 is at the controls. You know that. You know the things that go on. If I was to say, and all you people here at church, if I was to say, let's take the thoughts from your mind and put them on the board, do you know how fast you'd run the hell out of here? You'd be gone, of course. Now, the reason I'm saying that is that is what is called the carnal mind. It does good things and it does bad things. But here is why nothing in religion, nothing in church, nothing can ever get you above and beyond the mess that we've gotten ourselves into. Watch what it says about the carnal mind in the Bible, Romans 8:7. The carnal mind is an enemy against God. It is not subject to the law of God, neither can it be. I didn't make this stuff up. You know, they put Bibles under their arms. They got them in there big enough to choke a mule. And they'll run in and they'll walk into the church and they'll say, here, hallelujah, the Word of God. They don't ever read it. They don't ever tell you that. There is nothing your mind can do. And so you have to shut it down. And you shut it down in meditation. So in other words, in order for you to move into the realm of that supreme light, which you have to be in total darkness, you have to shut down the carnal mind, and you got to shut down thought, and that's why Jesus specifically said, go into meditation, stimulate the single eye, the pineal gland of the brain, shut down thought into the darkness. And what are you trying to do? And this is where it gets spooky. You're trying to move away from 666 into the parallel universe of light. But you have to experience the darkness, free from thought. And Jesus in the Bible, who's the name for an advanced mind that wrote this? He was very specific as to what you must do to get away from 666. He couldn't have been more specific. Now, you ask yourself, when you you go to church, all this kind of stuff, ask yourself, do you do what he said, or do you follow the church? This is what he said. First thing he said is, look, you got to look for the kingdom of God. Well, that's very religious, but that's what you got to look. That's what he said. You got to look for that. Now, you look under your chair, or you go out, go to Wendy's, see if it's there. You know why? Because he tells you exactly where it is. The kingdom of God is within you. It's not in a church. It's inside of you. What he says. Take no thought. Why? Because when you take no thought, you shut down the part of the mind that cannot be in concert with that higher light. So you got to shut down, you got to separate from the thoughts of the mind. Oh, here's the one that really gets them in the church. If your eye be single, you ever see the dot in the middle of the Hindu's forehead? Your whole body will fill with light. That's talking about the pineal gland of the brain, or pineal gland of the brain. Call it whatever you want. Pineal gland of the brain. And way back in the book of Genesis, Jacob's wrestling with a guy who turns out to be an angel or an angle of light in his mind. And he says, I have seen God face to face, and I shall call this place Peniel. Why? Go ahead. For you have taken away the key of knowledge. You entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in you hinder. In other words, what he's saying here is knowledge is within yourself. Not in a church, not in a building, not anywhere. It's within yourself. That's what is necessary for you to be a Christian. And that's why I can say the problem, this is the only place here that exists where people are, because we do exactly what he says. Take no thought, watch, go in, practice the single eye. Those instructions will take you into the influence of that light which is in the darkness. Now, it gets to the point of liftoff time, doesn't it? Separation from the make-believe violent worlds of religious and government and corporations into the dark energy that we refer to religiously as God and Spirit, into the realm of other places, parallel people that live there, or our families, our friends who've gone on, ourselves, our twins in parallel places. Parallel places where you are right now, where you live, where you work, where you play. Or is that interesting to you? Or do you want to sit in church and sing songs and hear the same stories over and over and over and watch the whole world fall apart around you? Now, last week I shared with you just a few of the people who are the most eminent scientists, physicists who know of the parallel places. And this is what I have to do, because if I tell you about this stuff, you say, what the hell? This guy's nuts. Parallel places where my grandmother or I am, it's crazy. And I would be the one years ago to be the first one to say that. But I'm going to show you people, and I showed it them last week, and I'm going to run through it quick, but I want to just, because we're going to move now a little closer to the edge and the 666 and the dark places. You don't even have any knowledge that these people exist. They know, or you know, of the Pope, and you know of Billy Graham, and you know of Pat Robertson, you know of all these people, but you do not know of these people, and yet these people are the ones who really know the truth. This scares religious people because they want to sing about these things and they want to read about these things. But if you were to tell them that alien light is about to come through the wall, it's the Holy Ghost, they'd run like heck out of the building. They don't ever want to admit that these things actually exist. Isn't it fun? You go to church and you get dressed up and you sing songs and you put money in and everybody's, thank you, Pastor, and they all go down and have ziti and all that. It's great. But what's really the truth? So let's quickly reintroduce ourselves to just a few of the people that I use as my witnesses. You have your witnesses in church. I know that. I want to show you mine once again. And these people will show you the locations of what you refer to as gods and spirits and angels. Only there's a big difference between these people and the ones you see in your church. And the difference is these people know what they're talking about. Watch. Oh. You got another one there. The people which sat in darkness saw a great light. That's right. That's meditation. That's why we turn the lights off in here. Paul Steinhardt is the Albert Einstein Professor in Science and on the faculty of both the Departments of Physics and Astrophysical Sciences at Princeton University. Would you think as a scientist he would be a credible witness? Well, this is what he said. For years, parallel universes were a staple of the Twilight Zone. Science fiction writers loved to speculate on the possible other universes which might exist. In one, they said Elvis might still be alive, or in another, the British Empire might still be going strong. Serious scientists dismissed all this speculation as absurd, but now it seems the speculations wasn't absurd enough. Parallel universes really do exist, and they are much stranger than even the science fiction writers dared to imagine. This is what I want you to do next Sunday when you go to church. You go to the pastor and you say, Pastor, can we talk about parallel universes? Where I heard in that place on Route 9 that there are strange things going on. I guarantee you this guy won't know what you're talking about. Next. Oxford University in England, the most brilliant physicist on this subject in the world, David Deutsch. David Deutsch's research in quantum physics has been influential and highly acclaimed. His papers on quantum computation laid the foundations for that field, breaking new ground in the theory of computation as well as physics, and have triggered an explosion of research efforts worldwide. His work has revealed the importance of quantum effects in the physics of time, travel, and he is an authority on the theory of parallel universes. Would you think he has credibility? I would think so. This is what he says. Our twins in parallel universes are just as real as we are. The notion that our world is somehow more real is derived not from experience, since each world seems equally real, nor from quantum mechanics. In an absolute sense, there are no splits at all, and there is no moment when your unseen counterparts can no longer affect you. You see, you can't look up here and say, well, the guy didn't mean he said that. No, he didn't. This is David Deutsch. He was an eminent physicist from Oxford University in England to back up what the eminent Einstein professor at Princeton University said just a moment ago. See what else David says. To the extent that your decisions depend on random events, there are indeed other equally real versions of you in other universes who choose differently and are now enduring the consequences. Photons, atoms, quantum computations have invisible, differently behaving counterparts, but you still cling to the belief that you exist in only one copy. I don't think this makes sense because you are made of atoms, and if they have invisible counterparts, so must you. You didn't know that, did you? Well, you do now. It's not what they told you in church, was it? What quantum mechanics describes is not a single universe, but something that is constantly branching into different worlds, in one of which I am speaking to you, and another in which I am speaking to someone else. This is what really goes on. This is Max Tegmark. Max is a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT in Massachusetts, a person who is not you but lives on a planet called Earth, with misty mountains, fertile fields, and sprawling cities in a solar system with 8 other planets. There are infinitely many other inhabited planets, including not just one, but infinitely many that have people with the same appearance, the same name, and the same memories as you, who play out every possible permutation of your life's choices. Who are they? Would you like to go into a parallel universe and meet yourself? Can you imagine that, Paul? You can't, but he's there. And you know what? You know you're going to go to sleep tonight? Your brain's going to separate from your body, which is what happened, and you're going to meet yourself in a parallel universe. You're not going to bed tonight. You're going out. And sometimes you have a pretty wild time. And that's what goes on in parallel places. Here's my happy physicist, one of the great ones. His name is Fred Alan Wolf. At the annual meeting of the Association for the Study of Dreams in Washington, Fred Alan Wolf delivered a talk in which he asserted that the holographic model explains lucid dreams. Wolf believes such dreams are actually visits to parallel realities, and the holographic model will ultimately allow us to develop a physics of consciousness which will enable us to begin to explore more fully these other dimensional levels of existence. Watch for that as we get closer to this 2012 thing and the change of the electromagnetism of the universe. Fred also said, what is a parallel universe? Like an everyday universe, it is a region of space and time containing matter, galaxies, stars, planets, and living beings. In other words, parallel universe is similar and possibly even a duplicate duplicate of our own universe. Not only in a parallel universe must there be other human beings, but these may be human beings who are exact duplicates of ourselves and who are connected to ourselves through mechanisms only explainable using quantum physics concepts. The laboring of laboratory of parallel universe experimentation may not lie in a mechanical time machine, but could exist between our ears. Thank you, Fred. If the parallel universes of relativity are the same as those of quantum theory, the possibility exists that parallel universes may be extremely close to us, perhaps only atomic dimensions away, but perhaps in a higher dimension of space, an extension into what physicists call superspace. Modern neuroscience, through the study of altered states of awareness, schizophrenia, and lucid dreaming, could be indications of the closeness of parallel worlds to our own. This is what we're talking about, Liz. Did you ever go into a nursing home and watch somebody sitting there and they're talking to somebody? You say, boy, that guy's really whacked out. No, you're whacked out because you can't see the person that they can. They're having a very intelligent conversation. But you see, this is what it's about. You met Fred, you met David Deutsch, you met Max Tegmark, you met Paul Steinhardt. But you know what? Most of you are going to turn these guys down. And you, instead, are going to cling to your people. What in God's name do they know? What have they ever said? They don't. So you make your choice. How do you compare the statements of intelligent people with the statements of religious people? And I say, oh, you're saying religious people are not intelligent? Yes, because you come into church and you check your brains at the door. And then you say, oh, yeah, I believe that the snake really did talk to the lady. Come on. In other words, there are invisible worlds. There are places where we appear after our physical bodies expire. You never die. Only, do you know that you could be sitting right now in a chair next to somebody who you think is dead and who's here saying, go ahead, tell him, Bill. And it might be your close, it might be a relative of yours. Right there, sitting right there, see? Just sit and see if anybody touches you on the knee. But you know, we can't contend with this stuff because we don't understand science. We don't understand the quantum world. We don't know about it. And we're like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein. You see, if you take an atom and you put it over here on this side of the universe, and you got another one 20 skillion light years away on the other side of the universe. If you pull this one down, this one will go up. Albert Einstein said, that is spooky action at a distance, I'm out of here. He quit. Why? Because it blew to smithereens everything in classic science that he knew. So when we move in that direction and we come closer to the reality of alien worlds, the religious people go crazy. And they consider, oh, it has to be a cult. Why? Because they don't understand the science. What do you think? Whatever you want to call God, do you know there is no God? If you go into another experience, and look, I'm looking for God. Who? God. Who's that? You know, God. God is the word good with an O missing. Devil is the word evil with a D on the front of it. We made him up. Wonder if his name is Seymour. And you screwed it all up because nobody told you. And what if you go knock on the door of God's house and he opens the door? What are you going to say? So we sit in churches and we make contact and we pray. But when somebody says 2012, contact may be about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, don't listen to that. Brothers and sisters, stand up and let's sing Amazing Grace. That's it. That's the answer. So in our meditation here, we take that first gentle step into the alien place of dark matter. And we do so for a very important reason. I showed this last week, but I'm only going to show one slide this week. But this is from the Universal Healing Tao. Tao means the way. Tao says when you go into the dark and this becomes total, the darkness soon turns into light. In the darkness, our mind and soul begin to wander freely in the vast realms of psychic and spiritual experience. When you enter this primordial state, you are reunited with the true self and divinity within. You literally conduct the universal energy. You may see into the past and future, understand the true meaning of existence, and to begin to understand the order of things, you return to the womb, the cocoon of our material structure. Now, in nature, and that this guy, however, is good, but it doesn't mean anything to you. Want me to tell you something means something to you? You go into the dark, the pineal gland of your brain opens, and it secretes into your brain an illegal drug called DMT, dimethyltryptamine. That's why people in the nursing homes whose brains have shifted can see people you can't. That's why people in some of the higher levels of meditation in the mountains see things that others can't, because it's a hallucinogenic. What the heck do you think Moses was wandering around in the desert for 40 years? He didn't want to leave. He was eating magic mushrooms. That's what manna was. I didn't make it up. The Bible tells you what manna was and how it acts, and if you connect it, it's magic mushrooms. You wouldn't leave the desert either. I'm having a heck of a time here. But see, this is very frightening, and it can be very frightening for people because their whole life they were steered away from any understanding of it. And for even like Christian people to go into the darkness of meditation. But that's because, you know why they're afraid? Christian people, too, are afraid to go into the dark place of meditation because they don't understand the very Bible that they cherish. They've never read it. What is coming down upon us? What is there? Intelligent, powerful, but completely invisible. Something that passes right through your body and is doing so right now. Something that passes right through your brain and can leave a deposit of what it needs to leave, and you have no clue that it's going on. Dr. Gary Toller of NASA Goddard Space Labs. Let me introduce you to him. Goddard Space Flight, Greenbelt, Maryland, Gary Toller. Toller has used his data as another way to calculate total amounts of visible matter in the universe. These calculations confirm other estimates that 90% of matter in the universe is missing or unseen dark matter. You look out there, oh, the universe is so vast, you only can see 10%. You know, some and I'll tell you something. This has got me had me change, because some years ago I wrote something about ghosts, and I said, well, in my opinion, what ghosts are electrical energies, usually for some place where it was violent, that a person with a very good brain open to that kind of electricity can pick that up and maybe see things. But you know what? I don't know anymore, because understanding that you can only see 10% of what really exists, it gives you a whole new perspective. Because I've read about now, and I've seen about things about people that are in a house where the telephone suddenly gets picked up and it goes flying across the... I said, well, that's ridiculous. But wonder if in that 90% that we can't see, there's some guy and he picked the phone up and he threw it against the wall. Why not? You see, what we consider to be ridiculous, we have to get with guys like this and with guys like Steiner, and these guys are saying, hey, they don't come on television, do they? You don't see this guy coming on television. You don't see these people coming to your church to talk to you. You don't, because, you just couldn't deal with it. In considering Bible scriptures then, when you talk about 90% of matter in existence is dark matter, do you realize that means you could go walk out the door and there could be a UFO hovering over Route 9 and you wouldn't even see it because it's in the darkness. There could be somebody standing right here right now looking out at you. You wouldn't see him because he's in the 90%. He's in the darkness. But you can't walk out of here anymore and say, well, I don't know if I believe that. I don't really care. I'm telling you what the scientists have proven in the quantum world of physics. Doesn't require you to believe anything. I don't have any faith in it. But what about it? What about the darkness? What about the Bible? What about this dark? Look, let's go to the Bible. Daniel, he reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light lives with him. Amos, you that desire the day of the Lord, to what is it for you the day of the Lord? Is darkness and not light. Amos 5:20, shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? Micah, rejoice not against me, my enemy. When I fall, I shall rise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light to me. What the heck do you think goes on in here? That's what we do. Isaiah, and I will bring the blind by a way they don't know. I will lead them in paths that they've not known. I will make darkness light before them and crooked things straight. These things will I do. And I will give you the treasures of darkness and the hidden riches of secret places, that you'll know that I, the Lord, who call you by your name, blah, 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 blah. It's all about existing in the darkness. And the scientists tell us that 90% of existence is the darkness. And do you know what? You can only see 10% of the universe, 10% of matter, and you only use 10% of your brain. And what does the Bible say? Give me 10%. What's that mean? Shut down that part that's yours, and I'll give you that part that's mine. But what has church done? He means give me 10% of your money. What? Yeah, give me, you got to tithe. Give me 10% of your, that's not what it means, folks. Keep your money in your pocket. It means give me that 10% that's yours, and I'll give you the dark place where the light is. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds. Clouds and darkness are round about him, righteousness and judgment. Unto the upright there arises light in the darkness. Blah, blah, blah. It's all about that. And then you see the scientists. And they're talking about 90% of it is dark. And then you go into more scriptures. It says in 2 and he made darkness pavilion. Then spoke Solomon. The Lord said that he would dwell in thick darkness. And Job, how does God know? Can he judge through the darkness? It's all in the darkness. Let's see if there's another one, John. Yes. Matthew, the people who sat in darkness saw great light. That's in meditation. John 1, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can't understand it. Corinthians, judge nothing before the time of the Lord, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness. Second, for God who commanded the light to shine out of the darkness to shine in our heart. Blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on and on. And you see these things in the Bible, and then what next? You see the fact that 90% of existence is in dark matter. When somebody dies, they don't die. The physical body dies, and the vortex, which is the person which surrounds you and connects to every part of your body, simply zips off into the darkness to continue its life. So we saw all of these scriptures, didn't we, about darkness. God dwells in darkness. He inhabits dark places. Everything is dark, 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 dark. Darkness is where God dwells. And then what did Gary Toller tell us a few minutes ago? He said, calculations confirm 90% of matter in the universe is dark matter. Do you think possibly that the things in the Bible knew that and were referring to dark matter? Couldn't we have said God dwells in dark matter? Of course. 10% is ours. 10% of existence is ours. 10% of our brain is ours. 90% is what we call God. Now, how do you proceed to receive that protection of light that dwells in the darkness? Once again, the Scriptures. It's take no thought. That doesn't mean don't worry about if you're going to have anything to eat. It doesn't mean don't worry about what the biopsy is going to say. Of course you're going to worry. You're going to freak out. But what he's saying is go into meditation and separate from those thoughts and allow yourself into the right side, to the pleasant place. Take no thought for tomorrow because it's going to... And once again, people say, well, see, you don't have to worry. You can't help but worry. How do you fill yourself with this light? How do you fill yourself with this light that's in the darkness? The light of the body is the eye. If your eye be single, your whole body shall fill with light. The single eye is the pineal gland of the brain. I wanted to bring you a little pine cone. I found this most beautiful pine cone in the backyard. I forgot to bring it. Because the word pineal means pine cone. And you know what happens here in New Jersey in the pine forest? The fire, the heat, causes the pine cone to explode, and new life pours out into the forest. That's why they have these fires all the time in the forest. So you take no thought. You stimulate the pineal gland, which opens the door for the higher light. Photon is then the light. When you hear somebody say, it's an angel of light, actually what that is an angle of light. And the words are connected. The angle of light touches the earth. It is a photon, which Einstein identified as a messenger particle. It is an angle of light messenger. It is an angel of light messenger of God. And it interacts with the pineal gland of the brain. And that's how all of this stuff... Isn't it... Don't you want to know how this stuff works? There are atoms and electrons in all parts of your body. And we're going to wrap this up and then go on to deeper darkness next week. But there are atoms and electrons in all parts of your body, including the pineal gland. Now, I want you to just listen to me. And this is the last thing we're going to... Jesus says in the Bible, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone will open the door, I will come in. What is it? I don't know. That's good. Let's sing about it, or let's read it in church. But hurry up, because I want to get to the Charlie Brown's buffet. But you know what? When he says, I stand at the door and knock, there is a scientific principle behind that statement. It's not just a bunch of religious talk. It's true. And I introduce you to another one of my witnesses, one of my favorite guys from England. His name is John Kramer. And what he said, you decide for yourself. First of all, I got to see if you'll allow him to be a witness, because after all, he's got to have credibility. So you make up your mind. This is John Kramer. John's a smiling guy too. John Kramer, born 1934, is a professor of physics at the University of Washington in Seattle. When not teaching, he works with the Star Solenoid Tracker at RHIC detector, at the New Relativistic Collider at Brookhaven Laboratory, and the Particle Accelerator at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland. Do you think he would be a credible witness? I would think that John would be good. All right, so let's see what he's got to say. Now listen to it. In your head is a pineal gland, the light receptor of your body. There are atoms and electrons in it. That which we call coming from God is the angle or angel of light, which is a photon. So the photon is coming down, and it's looking for some place to land. And so John says when an electron vibrates, it attempts to radiate by producing a field which is a mixture of retarded wave into the future and an advanced wave into the past. This energy or wave heads off into the future. Now that's towards us. So let's say Jesus is up there knocking on the door. What that means is an electron, a photon, is coming towards us. Coming towards us. But we have to be able to open the door so it comes in. So it heads off into the future towards us until it encounters an electron, us, which can absorb the energy being carried by the field. In other words, the way Jesus is knocking on the door, the way you open the door, is by doing something with the pineal gland that will allow it to absorb the photon or messenger particle coming down. So, geez, I don't know that. I never saw that. I wasn't very good at science in school. I don't know how would I do that. Very simple. Watch. John? Whoops. Go to the next one. Is that it? Nope. Go to the next one. Nope. Go to the next one. Did I miss it? Go back. Go back, real quick. One more?
Back?
Yeah. Got that one. Okay. Come on, best one of all. Here's what he says. That in order for that photon, or that God, or that Jesus, that light, whatever you want to call it, to enter into you, which is the photon. Okay? And I'll show you this. In order for you to receive that, you have to stimulate electrons. So you have your pineal gland with electrons. That's the single eye. That's where Jesus said, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. You stimulate the pineal gland in meditation. The stimulated pineal gland, and that's what he would say, will attract the photon. That's why Jesus said, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light, because the electrons in the pineal gland attract the photon, which will descend and enter into you. You can't pray about it. You can't read about it. You can't sing about it. You can't go to church about it. You have to go into meditation, concentrate here at the middle of the forehead, stimulate the pineal gland, and attract the photon. When you do that, you fulfill the scripture. The photon stands at the door and knocks. If you'll open the door by stimulating the pineal gland in meditation, the photon will come in. That's what it means. And it's unfortunate that I missed John Kramer's last... His last statement down there, because that's where he says that. Are you sure that it's not there?
Want me to go forward again? There you go.
Yeah, go there. Go there. Go there. No, it's not there. Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer because, well, you can say, 5 minutes, they're going to kill you. So, but do you understand how important this is? And I will have that next week at a thing about the photon and the electron. It aggravates me. Religion forces us to consider the physical body. But that's like, it's like considering the car and ignoring the driver. Your Honor, it wasn't me, it was the car. All of a sudden it just wanted to go fast. Bailiff, come in here. Give that car a ticket, please. Car, you got to be in. That's ridiculous. Court has to be held in a garage to accommodate the car. But, of course, that's silly. But when you consider yourself as a physical body and you look at yourself in the mirror tonight, think, that's my car. This is a 1934 Edsel. Oh, gee. Bumpers are rusting, tires are running out of air. But think, no. You're not the car, you're driving it. You cannot die. Only the body dies. That's why we recycle rapists and killers and murderers, because we execute them before we can drive the crap out of their head. And what happens? We kill the body. But just like teleportation, here's Johnny. And when we kill somebody that raped somebody, you know what we've just done? We've sentenced somebody down the road, maybe 20, 10, 5 years from now, to be raped. Because we don't know what we're doing. So you can conjure up, you can go into the dark matter and greet folks over there. You want to do that? Heck, lot better than going to church and singing Amazing Grace, I'll tell you that. But that's what Jesus was speaking of. He's speaking of going into another dimension of reality, into the dark matter, where you will actually see, hear, and communicate with people. He was talking about seeing things that is impossible to see without psychedelic help from the single eye, which Jesus told you to stimulate. This, I'll wrap up, promise. Dr. Rick Strassman. I don't know if you've ever heard of Rick Strassman. He's conducted many experiments under the financing of the United States government, and he's an expert in telling you what you can encounter as you cross the Red Sea into the Promised Land. This is Rick Strassman, and we'll be out of here real quick. He attended the Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University in the Bronx, where he obtained his medical degree with honors. He's a doctor. In 1984, he received lay ordination in the Western Buddhist order, co-founded and for several years administered a lay Buddhist meditation group associated with the same order. He has been a consultant to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, National Institutes on Drug Abuse, Veterans Administration, Hospitals, Social Security Administration, and other state and local agencies. And I tell you, if you want great reading, I'm going to show you a book that Rick wrote. It's called DMT, The Spirit Molecule, where he goes into talking about how DMT released into the brain causes these psychedelic situations, which then allow people to see the things that they pray about. That's what transports you into another dimension of reality. It's a drug, and it's called DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and it's inside of your head. It's built in. Built in. Now, you would say, why would God put a hallucinogenic drug in Paul Hawk's head? But he did. I'm kidding you, Paul. In everybody's head. You all got it. And one day when your brain readjusts and triggers something which says, old grandpa or granny's got to get ready to meet the folks on the other side, you'll be sitting there having a conversation with some guy. And people will stand around saying, oh, dementia. And then you'll find out, hey, they can't see this very real person. Now, of course, you can't have everybody running around seeing people that aren't there or that we think aren't there. Hey, there's a bus coming now. There's no bus there. What are you talking about? Sure there is. Can't you see it? What's the matter with you? Call the police. Call the first aid squad. Lace your town. This guy's gone nuts. So you can't have that. But when people get to that point, they are preparing to check out. It is getting near the time for Oscar the cat. I don't want to leave you with that. Do you know about Oscar the cat? No. Oscar the cat is a cat in Rhode Island who received from the state of Rhode Island the Certificate of Honor. Oscar the cat wandered into a nursing home in Rhode Island. And every time a person was about to die, Oscar would jump in bed with them, lay next to them, and within 2 hours, the person died. He did this all the time. And so they came the news and they asked the physician or whoever's in charge of the thing in the state of Rhode Island, I mean, this is a little weird. I mean, you got a cat. It does not make you feel, all your degrees and medical history, that you should know? Guy said, let me tell you something. When I think somebody's going to die, I call next to kin. They may fly from California or overseas. And they get here, and the person doesn't die. But you know what? Oscar is never wrong. One time it said in the story, and we did a lot of it here, that 2 people were dying at the same time, and they said Oscar was running in and out because he had to be with them both. But he knew. See, Oscar knows. And you know why? Because animals do not have that left side. They have their, what we call instinct, their connection to the light, so they know. It's like we were talking last week when they had the tsunami. So many thousands of people died. They flew over. They saw all these bodies, human beings. They didn't see one wild animal. They all left and went up to the mountains about a week before. Because they knew. See, that's the side we're trying to get back to. But instead of getting back to that point where they are, we go to church. And they take us further and further and further. So that when the tsunami comes, whatever kind of tsunami it may be, we're not ready for it. And we get overwhelmed. But if we start plugging into that right side in meditation, we'll go to the mountain. And the tsunamis that come against us in our life won't be able to touch us any more than they could touch the animals when the water tsunami came. So that's what's going on. So 666 has come, and it's just about gone. You all survived. I think we have a better idea, and I hope, you never go out of here believing anything. I don't want you to do that. I just want you to go out and say, I don't know, I don't agree, or I don't. That's what's important to do. The most important thing for you in your life is to be a skeptic. Be a skeptic. Be skeptical about everything. Because if you're not, there are people who are going to tell you this is the way things are, and when I tell you to stand up, stand up. When I tell you to sit down, and you sing when I say sing, and all of these things, and you do it like robots. I think one of the greatest lessons I ever learned about how you can confuse the mass mind was during the Vietnam War, and they used to have a lot of protests. And people used to march down the street. Well, the police, of course, didn't want them going in a particular direction. So what the cops would do in New York, they would dress up people at the front of the line that looked like the worst hippies you've ever seen, with long hair and scraggly beards. And, instead of going down that way where the cops didn't want them to go, the people at the front of the line with the placards say, "This way, everybody!" And they turn, and they go down, and everybody just followed right behind them. And that's what we do. We follow. And that's what the secret is inside here. Follow your dream. Follow your light. Activate it by going into the dark and allowing that pineal to open up. Let the DMT flow within inside of you. And listen to the knocking on the door from Photon and let him in. Because he's the one you've been praying to all of your life, not knowing in the world how you could possibly touch him. And that's how you can. Okay, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.